Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening to Indie Soul Saturdays.
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening to Indie Soul Saturdays with Destiny Hicks, your host. We are now into our second hour, and I have another amazing guest in the studio. His name is Walker T. But before I bring Walker T in, let me tell you a little bit about him. Marvin Walker, better known as Walker T, was born in Kingston, Jamaica. He moved to California to pursue his music career, where he appeared on many hip-hop albums. He was signed to Crenshaw Entertainment in 2005 and was featured on a few mixtapes, but no albums were released under the label. Walker T was a featured artist on Strikers Club debut album, Unleashed, appearing on two top tracks, Nothing at All and The Boy You Knew, with both receiving rave reviews. He appeared on The Jay Leno Show, where he performed for an audience of military members and made brief appearances on TV shows such as A Scream Home Makeover at Home Edition and CSI New York. Walker T got his big break when he recorded I Cry, which he saw regular radio stations play in Jamaica, New York, and Europe. Walker T moved to Virginia, where he released his single, Nah Study Dum. Under his new formally recorded label, Walker T Music Group, LLC, which made it to number 36 on the reggae iTunes charts in Finland in 2010. I do believe that Walker T is in the studio and Walker T is all mic'd up. And I'd like to thank you for being here and welcome you to Indie Soul Saturdays. And I'd like to know, how are you feeling today? How's everything going?
Well, great to see you all, and thank you so very much for having me. And I appreciate the time with you, with Source Nation. I've listened. I like the discussions. I like the commentary. Very intriguing and very intellectual conversation. It's a beautiful day. I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Glad to have you in the studio today.
Glad to be here. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
That's great. That's great. If you don't mind, I'd like for you to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
So I appreciate you reading the bio. My name is Marvin Walker, Walker T for short. Some people call me a legend. Some people call me a myth. Some people say you're crazy to get involved in so many different things at the same time. But I love people. I love music. I love human rights. And so if there's an opportunity to advocate for human rights, I'm going to do so. Whether it's through music or through research, I'm going to do so. So I like to classify myself as multi-purpose, not restricting myself, not limiting myself. So I don't just do music or I don't just do research, pursue education, because that's critical to me if we're going to face the future. With so many uncertainties. So it's hard to really sum me up, and that's not to your own horn, but sometimes you have to toot your own horn. But it's fascinating that we have so many opportunities and we don't pursue them. I like to pursue them. I like to pursue every God-given talent I think I have. I'm doing so, traveling this musical journey and see what happens.
That's excellent. That's excellent. During your musical journey, as you faced many obstacles, what kept you pushing to continue on and to not give up? And to, as you stated, I know that you said that you enjoy the human rights movement. What were some of the things that kept you pushing as you furthered in your music career?
That is such an interesting question. I always try to go back to humble beginnings. I always tell people at every major accomplishment, I take the time out to tell people that this is a little island boy that accomplished this. And they say, what do you mean by that? Why are you saying that? So I said, well, if I don't remind myself that I started out as a little island boy, my head might get too big. Or When I face adversity, I have to go back to that humble beginnings, remembering that I came from nothing. So if I'm at the bottom feels all right to me because that's where I started. If I'm at the top, I remember the bottom because that's where I started from. So whether it's success or whether it's adversity, I always try to remember humble beginnings. Growing up on the island of Jamaica, not having much. So every time I accomplish something, number one, I give God thanks, and then I thank my supporters and thank everybody else, and just remain humble because next moment you're fighting for your life. So why not enjoy it? But why not give thanks for what you have?
Okay. That's excellent that you decided, that you were going to keep pushing and you kept motivating yourself and knowing, humble beginnings. And I think that's very crucial to growth and success is that you have to make sure that you don't, like you said, you have to remind yourself, where you came from. And, that keeps you pushing to, keeps you pushing to not, regardless of where you end up in life, remembering that if I get too big-headed, I might lose this. And so I need to just remember, where I started. And so that keeps me pushing to the next level of where you ended up. And so I think that's very great that you use that humble beginnings.
Absolutely. And if I might add, I served in the Marine Corps and served in combat. I lost some friends. So who are very near and dear to my heart. It's very special people. And so when you reflect back on those things and realize that there are things in life we're taking for granted, I try to keep their memory alive and try not to waste my time. I started out in the music business with a lot of friends who gave up. So I asked them many times, I said, make sure before you hang it up, you're doing it for a purpose. You're doing it for a reason. You're here to advocate for the voice of the voiceless, for people in poverty, for people who are homeless. If you're doing it for glamour, gold, glitter, that's okay, but there's no longevity in that, So many times the spotlight wave past me, and that's fine. I just keep on digging. Many times the spotlight comes, and I shine for the moment.
That is very, very important and such an inspiration. I read in your bio that during combat you would use your music to motivate the troops and give them hope of returning home. What was that like for you?
Well, it was almost surreal. And what happened, many overseas deployments, we would have like what they call ice cream socials, where if you feel like you have some kind of challenge, you go out there and try to motivate the troops. And so what happened, I became known for, being able to profess my love for reggae music and for my love for people. And I realized while we were in combat, so mind you, this is not training evolution, we were in combat, and every morning I used to get up and sing to the extent that I was able to. And then my first sergeant, one morning I decided we're in a war, this doesn't make any sense, let me stop. And so one morning the highest ranking person in my company at the time said, well, who turned the radio off? And he kept asking, who turned the radio off? And we're like, we didn't have any radio. What is he talking about? And they say, hey, where are you, Walker? Turn the radio back on. I said, oh, wow. He said, what are you trying to do? Drive me crazy? Turn the radio back on. Don't you know that's our motivation? And again, I was just humbled by it, that they thought that I could cheer them up just by making up noise. A lot of times saying words they didn't even understand, so I just appreciated that and was very humbled by it.
Wow, I bet you were, like you stated, I know that you were such a great inspiration and motivation and encouragement to them, because I can only imagine what's going through a soldier's mind while you're over in combat, not knowing if you're going to make it home, and just knowing that you were that light to them in that time of, not really knowing and not really understanding, the next, like we as civilians, we take for granted the next second. And as a soldier, I'm sure, not knowing what your next second holds, I'm sure that can be very stressful. But knowing that you're doing it for a good cause, I know that could, I know people, it's easy for people to say that you're doing it for a good cause, it shouldn't bother you. But I know just that thought of having family members back home and wondering if you're going to make it back to them, I know that could be very stressful.
Absolutely. And that's why I put that in the bio, where I made sure that when the bio is going out, that's always included, because it's something that's special to me. especially since I lost some friends in combat. I never want to look past that. So I appreciate your pulling that out.
Yeah, that stood out to me. And another thing I noticed that when you move to California to pursue your music career, what was going through your mind at that time when you had to, relocate and, start off somewhere new? Like, what was going on in your mind? Did you feel like you would be where you are today with music when you moved to California, or were you just moving out there on a wing and a prayer and just hoping that, something good was going to come out of it?
Well, I was always confident. I was doing lots of performances in Jamaica as a teenager. I was always confident. But then I realized in California there are lots of talented people, and so it dawned on me that because there's so many talented people here, everyone's trying to make it. What do you do to stand out? So I would affiliate myself with acts such as Strikers, Crenshaw Entertainment, where they had a lot of R&B and hip hop artists, and I try to be that voice. So even if I'm just doing ad libs in the background, it stands out because people are saying, "Well, what is that sound? That sounds so different." And so I realized in order for me to make it, in order for me to stand out, I need to work on collaborating with other genres of people, which actually turned out to be a beautiful thing. Just having an appreciation for different art crafts within the music industry. That was very, again, humbling. But I think I would just attribute being humbled and being persistent to withstanding, those low years and those low months where music wasn't buzzing. But again, if you're doing it for a righteous cause, if you're doing it for a right cause, you're going to have no choice but to stay the course.
Wow. I like that. That you said that you were always confident, and that's very crucial also, like you said, about humble beginnings, humbleness, and, just knowing that, that whatever is going to happen, I know that I'm going to be confident that something good is going to come out of this. And I think that was so crucial to, your beginnings, that you knew what you wanted to do, and you didn't let that get in your mind too much for you to act as if you was any greater than anyone. But you kept it in the back of your mind as if I know I got to put in the work to get there, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Exactly. And I always try to practice what I preach, and I always tell people life is bigger than the individual. So you have to rise above your individual self. So if I'm going to be dwelling in myself without rising above my individual self, then I become hypocritical to the words I teach. And again, just realizing that I'm doing this for a cause. And it took me a little while to see it, but I realized it probably around 17, 18 years old, that people not just look to you to entertain them, or people don't just look to you to say, okay, this person have a special connection with people. They look to you to lead as a role model. And if I may just segue into a bit, a lot of times I hear artists, and I'll never bash an artist, a lot of times I hear artists being surprised by either parents or, youngsters saying they look to them as role models. A lot of times, sometimes if we're not careful, people emulate what we do. We never want them to take on any negative fashion. But people are always looking for inspiration. People are always looking for hope. And if you have an opportunity to give them that, why not give them that? That's how I look at it. That's my vantage point on things.
And I love that. That's so good about you, that that you are what I call a hope dealer. You feed out hope to people, and a lot of times people don't realize that it's so simple as that. Is giving somebody something that they haven't gotten back home, or giving them something that they can't get, in the street. It's something that's very one in a million, because everybody doesn't want to see you succeed. And so when you have somebody that's in your life, like a person like you, I know that you've impacted so many people because of the heart that you have, and you do it, willingly, and not have somebody making you do it. And so I know that makes it even more sincere when you do feed out hope to people and, motivate them and encourage them. And I think that's so powerful, the type of life you lead with that. I think that's so great.
Absolutely. I appreciate
but I do
it.
have one question for you. The song Shooter. Tell me a little bit about the song Shooter.
Man, so Shooter caught me by surprise. I was sitting in my home office. My producer gave me the beat some time ago. I was sitting in my home office, and that thing came out of nowhere. Normally, people freestyle or people write stuff down. I had no bit. I was literally not paying attention to music. I was working on a research project regarding homeless veterans, and it just dawned on me out of the blue. And really, as I diverted my attention to it, it's really talking about people who want to be so-called gangsters. And so in Jamaica, they say that they're a shutter, aka a shooter. They're a tough guy. So as I diverted from the research to it, I'm thinking, well, if you're a shooter, how could you be a shooter and you're not more powerful than the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the person who is responsible for you? And even if you look at it from a scientific perspective, scientists are still trying to find what they call the God particles, which mean our existence originated from someplace. So if you're not that powerful, well, what kind of shooter are you? Are you focusing so much on taking people's lives that you can't make a life, create a life? So really the song is telling people you need to take your attention from focusing on being a shooter, being a tough guy, and focusing on living like the king and queens that we are. And it turned out to be a great song. I listened to that song more than anything else I listened to. Between Shooter and I cried because of the messages that it has.
That's powerful also in itself. It speaks a lot through your song Shooter. And I love for the listeners to draw their attention to what we're about to play now. Your very own that we have in the studio today wrote this song Shooter, and we would love for you all to hear it, take heed to it, and hopefully it inspires you to go on. Here you have it, Source Nation. Shooter by Walker T.
And
Nation, you just heard Shooter by Walker T. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Indie Soul Saturdays. I'm your host, Destiny Hicks. Today I have in the studio with me Walker T, a reggae artist that is such a phenomenal person. He's sharing with us today his journey throughout the music industry and how he encourages and motivates people throughout his walk in life. The phone lines are now open, so if you feel free to want to give any comments, ask him any questions, call in at the number 619-924-0933. Again, that's 619-924-0933, and press the option 1 to speak. Mr. Walker T, I'd like to ask you more about writing. How did you begin? What inspired your writing?
My writing actually is my walk. My writing is how I started out in life. Living in Jamaica, really not having much. And as a kid, I grew up in a place called August Town. Now, normally, we moved every 2 years. We're like nomads, it's like survival. We move every 2 years. Mother of 8 children, no dad living there, so we just hopping around, and I fell in love with a place called August Town, beautiful Hope River. I spend most of my time in the hillside, just reasoning with nature, reasoning with God, thinking about what I'm going to do in my lifetime. And I didn't think it down, so I go on the hillside with my notepad and started writing things down. And what's so beautiful about this is that from my vantage point where I was sitting, where I was located, I always go in a mango tree and pick mango, because when you're hungry, that's the beautiful thing about living in the island. When you're hungry, even though you might not have $1, you can pick a mango, eat a mango. You don't consume too much, you might catch diabetes. But so from my vantage point, I would see the river, I see the mountainside. I would just see kids playing on the playground. I see people going to work, and I'm the only one up there because I was one of the trail that goes there. You had to walk through my yard to get there, so it was a beautiful thing. As soon as I wake up in the summertime, I'll go up there and sit down. And really, that's when I really started writing songs, putting pen to paper. And actually, that's when I learned that I could memorize my songs. It's just, and the breeze is so cool up there. It's so beautiful. So every time when I'm writing a song, I go back to that place. And if I can't, bring my mental state to that place, I try to go where water is. Most of my songs are written by water because that's what I'm used to. I go by the riverside. I go by the ocean. The song "I Cry" was written by the ocean in Venice Beach. In Seal Beach, California. It was written by the ocean side. So I try to find water to help inspire my song. It's very humbling. If you ever go to sleep and listen to like nature sounds, it's so very humbling. And so I try to use that to motivate myself. But after a while, you're so used to it. You're used to tapping into your mental psyche. You don't really have to try so hard.
Wow. I'm telling you, it's something about the sounds of creation that keeps us, keeps us at a humble state. And I like that you emphasize humbleness throughout your whole interview. You emphasize the word humble, and I love that. But speaking of writing and inspirations when it comes to writing, what inspired the song Level Them?
So Level Them it features my good friend and star of the Jamaican movie Out the Gate, Everton E.D. Dennis. That guy's blazing lots of fires in Los Angeles. He's putting in hard work. So really what happened, my producer had the beat. We were contemplating who to do a collaboration with. And so my producer named the beat Level Down. And so with the name of the beat called Level Down, I said, what are we leveling down? What are we keeping down? Are we supposed to be rising up? And then spending some time, you realize, okay, if you're supposed to be rising up and the name of this beat is Level Down, what are we keeping down? And I realized we're trying to keep adversity down. We're trying to keep in Jamaica what we call bad mind. You mentioned it earlier where people don't want to see you strive. We're keeping that down. And so we did a music video for it, and even in the music video we're doing some choreography where we're pushing our hands down, and we're pushing down those negative energy. And so the song titled Level Them, now it transitions to talk about the foundational stones. Foundational stones, like where Christ said to Peter, I'm going to call you Simon Bar-Jonah. Upon this rock do I build my church. So it talks about the foundation stones. The stone that the builder refused shall always be the head cornerstone. And so, again, I go back to when I was a kid. My mom always told me that. The stone that the builder refused become the head cornerstone. I always said, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, she was a kid of 14 children. She felt rejected because she had a darker skin complexion. Everybody had a lighter skin complexion. So she felt rejected. So her goal was to rise above that and become the head cornerstone, planted in the foundation where no one can ever go around you. So that comes back as a grown man, thinking about the foundation stone. We want to keep down bad energy. So we just said we're going to level them, and it's worked out perfect.
Well, there you have it, Source Nation. The reason behind the next song that you will hear, Level Them by Walker T.
Flash it. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. You know it's CD alongside Walker T. The one that's good. The tone that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. Oh yeah. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them. Cause the tone that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. The head cornerstone. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them. Been through the worst, but still not the worst. They want to see me lay down in the earth. Them push us aside, but now I'm a guide. Thank God I'm alive, so we have to survive. We suffer long time, so the suffering done. I wish mama was around to see him young son. Make it move like a mafia. Music ambassador. Look at that now, starring movies like wow. The sound that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. Oh yeah. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them. Cause the sound that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. The head cornerstone. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them.
So they threw away the stones, not no plan for it. But in the blueprint we are a part of it. The architectural drawing a Bob set it. So you know say them can't left it. Me sing my song from newborn. Them can't stop me from move on. Cause I am the mineral that they need to make reggae music move on. Yo, tell them me ready on the bedrock. And me ready to lead the sheep then yam yam.
The sound that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. Oh yeah. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them. Cause the sound that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. The head cornerstone. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them.
Get a youth, open your eyes and stay focused. Dirty Babylon, we try to trick you up with locusts. Open your eyes and you'll see. Be strong like when Moses crossed the Red Sea. And open your eyes to the world so your eyes can see. Cause them the ready, yeah. You gotta stay focused, focus, focus.
The sound that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. Oh yeah. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them. Cause the sound that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. The head cornerstone. So make we level them down, level them. Cause we say them and devil them.
Righteous people, just stay strong. We don't need no revolution, we need a resolution to all the madness in the world. Talk about ISIS and ISIL. Them want a poison pill. More strength, more life. Walker T, ED.
Source Nation, you have just heard the song Level Them by Walker T, who is in the studio with me today on Indie Soul Saturday. As I was listening to that song and how I was thinking about how all the inspiration that you said that you know, that you go through when it comes to writing and what inspires your writing and what inspires your songs, I couldn't help but rush to the song I Cried, because when you told me in your past statement about how you do write and how you said that you went down to the water to write the song I Cry, and crying requires water. So if you could, I would like for you to break down what were you feeling when you were down there by the water and being inspired by the song I Cry, what, you know, fueled you to write the lyrics to that particular song, I Cry.
Absolutely. So at the time I was living in Seal Beach, California, and the ocean was literally a 2-minute drive from me. So one Sunday I just drove by and sat there. So I sat there in my vehicle, overlooking the water, just to clear my mind a bit. And so as I looked out, I saw children playing, just running back and forth on the sand right next to the water. And they were so jovial. They were so beautiful. They were having a wonderful time. And I was sitting there, the beats playing, and it's as though I was transformed and brought back to Jamaica. Because I was feeling joyful for the children who were having a wonderful time. They looked so innocent, so peaceful, not a problem in the world bothering them. And I just reflect back to Jamaica saying, wow, Jamaican kids aren't necessarily doing this right now. They have so many problems. So it was a bittersweet moment, happy for life, the possibility of life, to see innocent children enjoying their lives, and thinking about children in Jamaica and other parts of the world like South America and Africa who are struggling, and maybe their water is not that beautiful. You know, maybe their water is a stream that's infested by cholera, different kind of microbiological disease that they can't necessarily drink it because the water is not purified. So I literally became overwhelmed just thinking it. I remember saying to myself, man, you need to calm down and just write the song. And so that's how it just came to me, you know, and they used them I cry every day, you know, because they do cry every day for pressure and pain. And I think one of the things that stood out to me, I kept replaying it as I recorded the song. I was even fascinated by it. It talks about people struggling and they pray. You know, they pray for upliftment of their struggle, but still they struggle. And so I wonder, should I leave that in there? Is that blasphemy? Is that going against, is that unnatural? You know, saying you pray but your prayers aren't answered. So I left it in there because it's real. Sometimes we pray and sometimes we get mad because our prayers aren't answered. And maybe the prayer is answered in a different fashion that we're not looking for. Maybe that prayer is not supposed to be answered. You know, maybe something else you're destined for something else. So I left it in there because it's natural. It's a part of life. So I thank Seal Beach, California, and those children on the beach for giving me such a beautiful song. They're one of my favorites till this day.
I love it myself because I found it as such an inspirational song, and I know this is going to inspire someone else that's listening today. Here you have it, I Cry by Walker T, one of the top hits on all radio stations. I Cry by Walker T.
Me used to cry every day, me used to cry every day. Whoa, 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 whoa. They used to cry every day for pressure and pain. They used to cry every day, and who is to blame? The youth them I cry every day, I'll be a blessed day. And every day I see them I pray, but it's the same. Them cry for the things that made them sick. Slave master come and leave my popping way. Some get gunned down and start walk with sick. I said them shouldn't left them clean. But things is so bad out the street nowadays. The kids them don't even want to go play. And every day we get up and a big gun play. Whoa, 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 hey. Let's pray for the things that make us whole, and pray for the things that will fill our soul, and pray that better will come one day, and the kids wouldn't be so cold. And just through the pressure why some turn out bad, I pressure why enough of them I call to God, and I pray that better will come one day. Whoa, 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 hey. So I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blind. I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blind. Be an antagonism down in the slum. Can't find no food to use them, run feed them gun. Drop out the school from them young, young, young. No food, no cook and no money, no run. A second class citizen, that's how we classify. Them want to bond the rasta to email Selassie. But still they get to use them, nah get no blight. No matter how hard them a try. So I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blight. I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blight. Let's pray for the things that make us whole, and pray for the things that will fill our soul, and pray that better will come one day, and the kids wouldn't be so cold. And just through the pressure why some turn out bad, I pressure why enough of them I call to God, and I pray that better will come one day. Whoa, 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 hey. So I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blind. I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blind. So I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blind. I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, I cry, 'cause the youth now get no blind.
Source Nation, you just heard the hit single I Cry by Walker T, that whom I have in the studio with me today. First, I would love to thank you, Mr. Walker T, for coming in and inspiring the people on today of your walk in life and how you became who you are today. I just want to thank you personally for just joining in on Indie Soul Saturdays, and we'd love to have you come back. Even though we're running out of time, I would like to give you the opportunity to share some encouraging words or something that you didn't share earlier with Source Nation.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much, Destiny. And I really want to thank Andrea Jeffcoat, I believe is her name, for also coordinating. I also want to thank Forward Management and Janice Benz. Thanks to you for hosting. I wish we had more time because there's so much more to talk about. As we try to inspire our brothers and sisters to continue to rise above struggles. One of the things I just want to leave with everybody is while I was pursuing music, I was also pursuing education, and just finished my doctorate in law and policy. So we'll focus on social science research, looking at research for poverty and homelessness, amongst children and amongst veterans and amongst women. So I'd love to come back and talk about some of those things in the future. But what's interesting is I realized that I gravitated towards social science because I care about humanity, and that's what my music is about. So I realized after a while, being able to do research allows you not just to be a social commentator and talk about it, but also allow you to be about it and do the business to actually help people rise above their struggles. So it's good to sing about it. but it's good to do research and do exploratory research, uncovering things that maybe the world hasn't known yet. It's challenging, but it's beautiful. As long as it has to do with people, I'm there. And I just appreciate any opportunity to talk about doing good and doing the right things. Spreading reggae music across the world, spreading research across the world, I think that is absolutely necessary in today's society. So I just want to say, Source Nation, keep doing a great job, spreading the word, keep having these social commentary, these entrepreneurial conversations. They're inspiring. They're beautiful. My people are beautiful. So I just want to thank everybody for coordinating this. Looking forward to much more conversation and just listening in. Sometimes I just go on the internet and plug in and just listen to some of the past conversations because they're very interesting.
Wow, there you have it, Source Nation. Is there, Mr. Walker T, do you have any social networks that you would like people to follow you more on so they can hear about and see the great things that you're doing and to keep up with what's going on in the now?
Absolutely. If it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, it is at Walker T Music. We're so used to being behind the scenes and working hard that we're really just coming online with social media to start promoting our social media. But we're just used to working. But again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it is at Walker T Music.
All right, there you have it, at Walker T Music. Thank you again for being a part of the show on today, and we look forward to having you back in the near future. Source Nation, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in on this Saturday afternoon. But before I close out this afternoon, I would like to thank our sponsors, Zulina Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Paper 2 Film Productions, Revolution Meals, and Renovations. Here you have it, Source Nation. Another amazing show with Indie Soul Saturdays. Thank you. We love you and hope to hear from you all and see you all on the air again. God bless.